I think it's just
No, we can go
more
ahead
of
and
a,
get moving. We're all good.
okay, cool. So I put the first agenda item on here. Just a little background on this. We have gone through and increased the back end benchmark due to recruiting efforts and so on. So that's been updated. It had, obviously positive impact on recruiting, also positive impact on team members and so on. I I found out that the UX benchmark was also updated. So I was wondering what the background on this, if somebody has some insight, is it similar to recruiting? And then the other mention is that just noticing that our front end and QA benchmarks are set at the 50th percentile as opposed to 75th and 85th, like we have for back end. So again, I'm just curious, is this intentional? Can we start having these conversations about adjusting the front end benchmark, because we are feeling it now more in recruiting, but also by team members and so on. So I'll stop talking, let you guys share.
Yeah, my upshot is I wasn't aware that UX was being increased, and I'll need to investigate. As far as 50th and 75th, 50th versus 75th to 85th percentiles, I also don't have a good answer there, other than the fact that I thought we were using 50th as our benchmark and then kind of evaluating it from there.
Okay. Tim, it looks like you started the conversations. Did you want to elaborate?
Yeah, so I spoke about the topic as in my previous role with Eric, and I also just got the ping on the UX. Hey, there was the UX stuff increased. What about front end? And so I understand that there. And back then we said, let's see how that backend increase goes, to what will this lead, and how this works out, and especially the learnings of increasing it during the time and during hiring and having people on different roles, or what are learnings out of that, and then take another look at it. That was my last information that I got. So I think would be the best to pick the topic up with Eric. Back then he simply mentioned, let's get as much data and as much detailed data, especially also on our side, but also on the hiring and candidates that simply declined due to compensation, because that would be with the internal, I want to earn more and I should earn more, also the bigger benchmark, as we then can see it's around the globe, because what happened in the past was simply, okay, we have 1 or 2 countries that ran into problems with hiring, where we simply got declines on the offers. And then, of course, people obviously say, hey, it's only those countries, rather than increase the whole front end. So, yeah, I think we should pick the topic up and see how we can undermine it with data.
Okay, great. So I know we have the spreadsheet from recruiting. All right, Christopher, I'll leave the action item. If you'd like me to help take the lead on the conversation, or if someone else would like to, I don't know, Tim, if you feel, since you've been in the conversation before, it's up to you, but I'm happy to help. It's definitely a topic that comes up really regularly. A lot of my one-on-ones involve a conversation around either the benchmark, compensation, or recruiting. So it is definitely felt, and it's becoming a distraction. I'd like to at least reopen the conversation and see where we can go from here.
Yeah, and especially set a roadmap that we can, okay, people obviously take 2 months to take a look, etc.
Cool. When did you talk, Tim, when did you talk to Eric about it? You said your last role, was that like February?
Yeah, that was, I think January was the last time I talked to him.
So it's been a quarter. Yeah, and the other thing, Dalia, just to notice is when I looked at that spreadsheet, it was a little bit all over the map. So it was a little bit hard to kind of glean out of there whether, we had this is not in association with employees currently compensated, but in association with, rejected offers. It was a little tough to tell if, location versus role versus, other factors. So the one that I was specifically looking at was front end. And I did notice a couple in there on that topic. So I think we have at least a little bit of data. So I'll try to take that as well as just revisit with Eric from that perspective.
Cool. Yeah, I'm happy to help as well. From what I gathered, just on the recruiting front, we've had 4 front-end engineers reject at the offer stage.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Chen, you have the next one?
Yeah. The next one is just a follow-up of the issue that Dalia brought up last time. So my question basically, since Mac questioned in the issue, so my question is, do we want to go ahead to implement this? And does it make sense to call this meeting a triage meeting or meta meeting? Because Stan has another question about, well, do we want to resolve the issues in this meeting?
Yeah, and I apologize. I have not had a chance to focus more on this. So Chen, if you're okay with it, I will spend some time today and comment in the issue. Similar to Mac, I recognize like the goal should not be to try to just add a meeting, but we do need a way to sync. It looks like, you know, Jerry, one of the things I didn't know about is that there is this design. Sorry, the name is escaping me. It's called DNA meeting. So that might be something we can leverage for cross-department, you know, conversations. But it's more, we need a forum for technical leadership, whether that be a meeting or something async. We just need to provide who's going to lead those conversations and who's the owner so that things are actionable. But I'll comment in the issue, and I apologize for not jumping in earlier.
Yeah, that's all I think that's the right thing to do. So I shared the context with Mac and in Slack, and he said he will, now he understands what the goal is. So we have a foundation that get him sign up.
Yeah, kind of my thoughts is to, I haven't attended a DNA meeting, so I was going to attend those, and I'd love for at least two other parties to attend those and kind of, you know, evaluate, does that seem like the right forum or do we need a separate forum for it? Just a note, I think Mech's comments are valid. I'm not saying that they're double negative is always a bad thing to do. So I think his comments are valid. That being said, we are the DRI for architectural aspects, and if we think the best way to handle this situation is a synchronous meeting, we should say, well, we'll attempt to try to figure out ways that we can do this, but also at the same time recognizing that, you know, sometimes there are things that just have to be done kind of in a synchronous fashion. We don't do group conversations in an async fashion, as an example. You know, similarly, we should be thinking in terms of that from this aspect as well. So just keep that in mind from that aspect.
Yeah.
So I'll attend or there are at least 2 other parties will try to attend, say, in the next week to week and a half.
Yeah, I think I should be able to make tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so Dalia, I will wait until you have some comments there, and I volunteer to take the follow-up actions.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah, my next item is I discovered that you know, managers and directors are fully booked almost every day. So I wonder if we shall, and Bartek and I talked about that. So shall we actually make the interviews more important than the regular or routine meetings, and let the recruiters know that they can schedule over those time. So Bartek and I had a chat last week. So we had this idea. I'm just bringing up on behalf of both of us.
My recommendation would be, like, one-on-ones are really hard to reschedule, especially if you start, like, you can look at my calendar. If they get overlapped with interviews, I'm not going to have time to reschedule them. So I would say the ones to protect are one-on-ones. They are extremely important touch points. But I get, like, that's what I've told the recruiting team. Most of the time I can't make group conversations or company calls because I have interviews overlapping. So I think you have the right intention, is to prioritize interviews. And I like, my one recommendation is just one-on-ones are going to be hard if you start scheduling over those.
Yeah, we were not targeting one-on-ones. We know that it's difficult to
Yeah.
schedule. It's just those meetings for informational. Most of the informational meetings we probably can prioritize.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, your week will not work. Talk to the schedulers. So normally, I think there are 3 different people: Emily, Kike, and someone else. And then if they know that they can go over the company call and the group conversation, then that's fine.
Okay. I'll take action to notify Trust. Yeah, I'm done. Moving to Christopher.
Cool. So this one, I think it's mostly on its way. I had a conversation this morning. But essentially, we got asked to take one of our recs and basically provide it for product management. It'd be for a product manager of dog food. So this would be a product manager who focus specifically on how internally we're dog fooding our own product and ways that we can further enhance it to enable it for our needs. So I did query Chun and Dahlia on it. Right now, there's a proposed rec up around Defend. I know that in parallel to this is the product development meeting between Sid, Eric, and Mark, and it's being discussed there. So we'll see what the feedback looks like from there. But right now, it's off of Defend. And Chun, thanks for thinking about the front end and on enablement. I think that's another candidate if we think that Defend is not the right category, though. I think right now Defend, from that perspective, is probably right, just because we don't know the sizing on the enablement side of the front end team. So because of that, I'd be more cautious on that side relative numbers. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then, and if you want to see the further reasoning, just go ahead and look at the MR. That's also included in there. And then next week's May 1st. So we're in OKR mode in regards to scoring up previous OKRs and then basically getting together for the second one. And Dahlia, you noted in there that there's an issue that Eric did for the engineering one. Do we want to make a separate one for development, or do we just want to track it within the engineering one?
Yeah, that was more of a question. I mean, we can go either way. This is the first time that we have development, under you, Christopher, so we can create an issue that then feeds into Eric's issue, or we can have, something like this example here, which is, Eric still had it broken up, but it was across every single director, if you will. So that could be another way to go.
Okay. More than likely, I'll probably break this out just because it becomes pretty unwieldy from that perspective as we scale out. But let me double check with Eric this afternoon, and I'll try to get that up as quickly as possible, targeting tomorrow morning for that.
Okay. And while we're on OKRs, I haven't had a chance to dive in deeper, but from your OKRs, so typically what we've done is, we look through Eric's OKRs, we provide our OKRs in support of some of those, but it's not necessarily that they have to 100% align. So are there one or two that you would like us as the directors to focus on, and then we work with our teams both in execution on those OKRs and also what other personal OKRs we may take. So like, for me, it was the Pulse survey, and that was not necessarily tied to a particular OKR, although it definitely, makes sense for the metrics and onboarding and so on and so forth.
See, how do I want to answer this? So my 3 OKRs got drafted for me. So it was a little bit more straightforward. So it's a little bit harder for me to evaluate that. I think right now where my head's at is go through the draft of what's currently already proposed and determine which one's already mapped to your team. And then based on that, figure out whether you have any space left. And then right now my gut says is to propose one around something additional that you think needs to be done from that perspective. That's kind of my current thinking, because at least we haven't, some of these OKRs are still like on the edge of KPIs, but they're not there yet. So because of that, we're going to still have them listed as OKRs. So maybe that we have less flexibility this quarter for OKR additions, if that makes sense, because we want to keep it to 2 to 3. So is that guy, I know that was kind of jumbled guidance. Let me see if I can restate it.
No, it's okay. I see it now. So there is like ops is stubbed out, build KPI X, or like hire to plan and so on. Yeah,
the one that I was specifically thinking about is the one that has the MRs. I may actually just have the global one, but that's, again, I got to talk to Eric about that one specifically, just because we don't actually have a good way to measure dev. We have great ways to measure groups, but we don't have great ways to measure sub-departments other than manual to add those up.
Right. Okay. All right. I'll take a look closer to it and make some suggestions. Do you want us to? So this is we're growing so much, and like Team YAML, it's going to get hectic. Do you want us to just merge what we have and then we can come back and adjust it, or do you want to review it before we add it in?
No, go ahead and CC me on the MR. But if you want to just commit it in because you feel like it's convenient to commit in, go ahead and do that.
Okay, great.
Because we can always edit post haste.
Yeah, that's been the route of least resistance right now with that many contributors. Okay, thank you.
Which is fine. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Just like I said, CC me on the MRs just so that I'm kind of aware of it from that perspective.
Cool.
Yeah, last item is just a reminder that we said we are going to get the first round completed by April 26th to update the pages under the new structure, which is Bartek's baby. So make sure you have something there, move over and correct the links. I discovered a lot of things needs to happen, so we can't get it all down in one place. I mean, it's just a massive updates.
So Chen, I would say this is, let's do it the GitLab way. What you have, if it's in a good state, it's a first iteration. Let's go ahead and merge it, and we'll come back with more changes. Yeah. I am guilty as charged in like not having the time to look at it, but one of the things I did was ask the managers to contribute to it. So I'll make another reminder, but I just feel like, there's so much change that we're trying to push through. The best thing is to go ahead and merge, and then we'll iterate from there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been doing. A lot, you can see a lot of pushes, a lot of commits there. Yeah, one after one, we find a new item. So
just merge it.
Yeah, just merge it.
That's the goal.
Yeah, unless you see something obvious, that should be the intent. It's faster iteration, and it passes gate. Don't break gate.
Yeah, it doesn't impact the code.
Cool. Any other topics we need to discuss?
No. Any ideas that what we should do at Contribute?
In terms of meetings, or
actions, breakfast, anything?
I'm doing a breakfast with my managers. I know they're coordinating some things with their team. I'm trying to get a spreadsheet of all the engineers, so I'd like to meet everyone face to face. I was thinking about like finding a place to camp and saying, hey, you want to come talk to Dalia? But I don't know how effective that's going to be. I don't know. Yeah. What about you?
You can book a room, right? In the Contribute channel, you can request a room.
Okay. No, I didn't know. Thank you, Chen.
You can request a room.
Yeah, are you talking about Sunday morning specifically, or just in general?
In general, what people are doing, and also what others are doing. But that's a great thing, because I still know that I did this last time, guerrilla tactic, running around with 30 people, finding a room where no one was, and then depositing a couple of people here and there so that they simply save the space until we had everyone together. So it's great that we are capable of booking a room.
Yeah, I got volunteered to do an unconference, so I'm doing the 80-20 rule. So I got to figure out what I'm going to talk about, or how I'm going to get the conversation started there. I've been wrestling with the same thing of, do I book a room and say, hey, everybody show up, and then all of a sudden I have 150 people coming into, 120 people randomly showing up in the room, or do I just ad hoc it? And I don't have a good answer yet, other than I'm probably more likely going to ad hoc it, just because I have the feeling that's going to be what's required.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Although, so on your unconference, don't stress. The point is to just have a topic and a few talking points. But it's supposed to be a discussion, not a presentation.
Sure.
But that's awesome. Very cool.
Did anybody plan anything for Sunday morning during the open hour, a couple hours? That was the other kind of piece in there.
Not yet.
Okay.
I know that we will be talking, I think on Monday I have my next staff meeting, and we will be talking about where do we have some time slot to meet up all with all managers, at least for their side.
I mean, I thought about using that time slot as just getting a room and saying, anybody who wants to come in and do a networking hour or whatever, just to, chat with people from their perspective.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a good idea because then you know that a specific person is at a specific place, because I think it was already last time like a beehive, and I'm pretty sure it will be even more, as I think we almost doubled from last time to this time. So it's sometimes hard to pinpoint people or figure out where they are or if they are currently in conversation. Good idea.
Okay. Well, let me check into that. I don't know if I've passed the deadline or if they have any rooms still available, but I'll see if I can maybe grab some space for that. Cool. All right. Anything else? All right. Thanks, everybody.